Hi guys, this is Justified, and I want to make a video where I explain my gear choices, my link choices and game choices, so people who don't want to read wall of texts have everything in video format. I won't really go over choices of Minos kitchen knife and soundbar because I wrote a lot about it in the thread, and they're like the core of the build. They what make the build possible, and you can read the posts and see the explanations why they work together and stuff like that. I'll just go gear piece by piece, explaining why I think this is the best, what other choices you could use and stuff like that. So starting with the chest, we have a Zero Splendor, as you can see, a high energy shield version. Best in slot probably 900 ES Val Regalia, or even like something like 1200 evasion, 700 ES Cardinal Armor, depending if you can get it, but early in the league it is highly unlikely that there's gonna be much better evasion, much better ES chests than a Zero Splendor on the market, because people won't really have money to craft anything good. And a Zero Splendor also comes with the 100 mana gain or kill mod, which is incredibly useful. It allows you to basically not use a mana flask, but use like full defense and damage flask instead. And that in itself is probably worth a lot. So I think like a Zero Splendor is realistically the best chest you can get, but for off-color, Val Regalia is probably gonna give you the highest amount of defense. Okay, so for a shield, you want to aim to get a 500 plus ES shield, like titanium or fossilized, if you want some extra boost to air damage. These usually somewhere midway in the league cost about like 3 to 4 exalts for a decent shield, and like 6 to 7 for a really good one. And early in the league they're probably gonna be more expensive. That's just the way, the nature of CI builds. They scale insanely hard with gear, but they also need a very high level, high tier gear to be good. So until people start finding that gear and crafting that gear, your build is not gonna be as good. So I wouldn't recommend you to start the league with a CI build, because it's not gonna feel as good as it could be, let's say, like 1 month into the league when there's a lot of ES gear going around. You want to aim at least at 350 ES on your helmet, and preferably with an open suffix to craft chest to avoid being stunned. If you don't want to use Triula, I talk more about Triula versus Rare Amulet in my gameplay video, but in general I personally didn't have problems with being stunned on this build, and I very rarely use Triula. I usually only use it on like vulnerability plus like 3 damage mod maps when I think I have the potential of getting stunned a lot, so I just use it to make the gameplay a bit smoother. But I haven't died at all to stuns on this build, and stuns weren't the issue, at least in my experience. For your boots, you either want Blood Dance boots or rare ES boots with like 250 or higher ES. Boots with around 200-250 ES with like some movement speed or resists are gonna cost you like 1 to 2 exalts depending on the time in the league, probably like 2 to 3 early on. And you can also use Rainbow Strides. They're like a budget option. They give like 140 ES. You can pick them up for like 20 KS. For your belt, it's either the Magnate or a rare belt, but as you can see, I also explained it in the gameplay video why I think the Magnate is such a strong belt. But if you don't think you need it, you don't need the increased flash charges gain, you can use like a rare rustic sash with some resists and high ES roll. Also increased flask charges gained and decreased flask effect duration are extremely good mods, or even reduced flask charges used. You can like go full on, and you can also get a strength roll instead of resist roll if you don't need the resistances to compensate for the loss of strength from the magnate. I personally prefer the magnet because it's also a high damage boost. It can easily be corrupted because there's a lot of them on the market for cheap. You can buy them, you can corrupt them until you get like additional trap, additional endurance charge, or radius of skills, skill effect durations. They are all useful corruptions and they are easy to corrupt. So yeah, for your rigs, basically all you need on your rigs are resistances and attributes. So try to get as much resistances on your rigs as you can possibly get. Aim to get at least 100 plus to resistances on your rigs, and just craft the maximum energy shield mod from Elrian. It's very hard to justify it because, as you can see, like especially this rig I bought for like 5 chaos. It's very hard to justify investing an exalt into a 5 chaos rig, but this rig is incredibly valuable to me. It makes me elemental weakness overcapped for red maps, and it gives me 49 strength. It saves me more than 1 passive point of strength. I would actually struggle to have enough strength to use max level enduring and rallying cry, or even like high level cast on damage tank and immortal call increased duration if I didn't have this rig. So yeah, you don't have to craft the maximum energy shield, but it's gonna boost your shield for like 100 to 200 energy shield probably, depending on how high you get it, how many divines you want to spend to getting the roll really high, or if you get lucky and get like 15 plus immediately. Okay, so that's for the gear and my game choices. I prefer to have cast with damage taken setup in literally any build I do, because it can save you from spike damage, like from porcupines or like barrages of archers, leapers and stuff like that. It's incredibly useful to have, and I like to keep it high so I can link a high level and enfeeble to it. Quality on enfeeble also is really important. As you can see, enemies have 45% reduced accuracy rating, reduced crit chance and crit multi, and deal 29% less damage. That's like this cast with damage taken plus enfeeble, or even blasphemy plus enfeeble if you want it, is an incredibly potent defensive choice, and I don't know how I would play without it. Just like I don't know how I would play without Immortal Call. You don't have to link increased duration, but I prefer it, especially if I use Enduring Cry, and in combination with that it gets like to over 3 seconds of Immortal Call, close to even 4 if you spec into endurance charges more, but I don't think it's really necessary. Only dangerous thing when I even think I need the plus 3 seconds are if I'm fighting Daresso in Colosseum map, and I just do so much damage that he melts in like couple of seconds, so I don't need like more than 2 procs of Immortal Calls in that fight. So yeah, it's just a personal choice how much you want to spec into endurance charges as your defense. I like them, I like to have them, but I don't like to spend too much on them. And yeah, I master a lot with setups for Bear Trap, and Bear Trap, Trap and Mind damage, poison and added chaos damage is like the most comfortable I am, because sometimes you will run out of Bladefall traps, like because monsters will spread and the pack density won't be good, so you really want to have an additional trap to use, especially you don't want to waste your Bladefall for one monster, and that's when I use my Bear Trap. Or if there's a pack of skeletons, they're extremely squishy, they don't have like any defenses at all, so I just use Bear Trap to kill, like really easy to kill mobs, and I save Bladefall for more important, because I don't want to like run out with zero traps, zero Bladefall traps to throw around. Yeah, this is the setup I personally find the most comfortable. I've completely phased the flame golem out of my build because it's incredibly annoying. He can distract the mobs and he can separate the packs, split them in like two smaller packs, and it makes it incredibly hard to hit all of the pack with your traps and spread the minnow proliferation. So the flame golem, I don't think the 20% damage it offers is really worth the hassle having it. It is very annoying in the gameplay, so I don't really use it anymore. I have Val Discipline, Val Lightning Trap, linked to Rallying Cry, linked to increased duration. I think Rallying Cry is really nice boost. It gives you some mana regen, which is incredibly helpful if you don't run Mana Flask. And it gives you like 60% base damage plus like 178 per 100 nearby enemies. That translates to like 17% increased damage per 10 nearby enemies. So it basically gives you like somewhere between 30 to 40% increased damage on your average pack. If it's a really high pack, you can probably get even more. Val Discipline, I don't think it needs an explanation. It gives you a crap ton of energy shield and energy shield regen, and it's saved me a lot of times. I can tank storm bears or flame bears and stuff like that with it. It allows me to survive, to face tank a lot of really annoying map bosses, especially tier 14 or tier 15 bosses. And Val Lightning Trap gives you shocking ground. Enemies on shocking ground take 50% more damage, which is an incredibly high multiplier. It's like better than controlled destruction, and I think it's very useful, so that's why I use Lightning Trap. I prefer to have Grace and Discipline. You could run Grace plus Blasphemy and Feeble, or Blasphemy Temp Chains, or Discipline plus Blasphemy and Feeble and Temp Chains, but I think Grace is incredibly strong, especially coupled with an Evasion Flask. And I already have Cast with Damage Taken in Feeble. I prefer to have like Enfeeble or Cast with Damage Taken set up and run Grace as my aura than have Enfeeble and Blasphemy, but somebody else prefers it otherwise. If you're just aiming to do this build specifically for Uber and City runs, Blasphemy is probably gonna be stronger than Grace. Yeah, that's about it. Of course, Rolling Brace, faster attacks, fortify setup can be extremely useful. 20% reduced damage, and you, as you can see in my gameplay video, you whirl around through the packs a lot, so you can actually make use of the fortify buff. And that's about it for the game, for the build and game choices. And the next video I'm gonna make is gonna explain ascendancy classes I think are good with this build and why I think they're good. So see you later, and thanks a lot.